It's actually not from the heat, that's from the cold actually. Good morning. Fairway project day. Man. Well, if you haven't been following this, I guess I'll try and update you, but make a long story short, the green is looking really good over here. And what I'm doing is I'm installing a fairway, a winter fairway, overseeding in a winter rye. So a few days ago I came out here and we cut in a fairway. Ooh, man, that sun's bright. So we cut in a fairway back to that fence over there. So now what I have to do is I have to seed it with a winter annual rye. And my rye arrived yesterday. Cool temperatures. We're in the 50s right now. And let me put up the 10-day forecast for you and basically show you that we're going to be 70s, touching down even into the 40s, 48 degrees a couple of nights. So if you're going to do, this is the time where your Bermuda lawn is basically going to start to just shut down. It's not going to grow much. But if you're going to do overseed, I did a full video on overseeding, the do's and don'ts. This is the time to do it. So unfortunately, I don't think I have any help. So I got to do this alone today. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to get the blower or drag or whatever and get some of the moisture off the fairway. I need to cut the green. I might cut the green, but I'll probably recut and pick up leaves. See that stupid tree over there? I hate that tree. It just constantly drops leaves on my lawn over here. So I may go ahead and run the McLean and with the catcher on it just to pick up a bunch of crap before I go ahead and actually reseed. So that's what we're doing today. So hold on. All right, so I love my little leaf sweeper. I've had this thing for over 2 years now. We have abused it. We use it to actually pick up the plugs from aeration. But in the fall, we get a lot of these little teeny leaves. And the only flaw in design on these things are that the front lip leaves a gap. And some of the leaves can actually be thrown forward. So here's what I do. I did a video on this. I don't know how to explain this, but basically you have to get Gorilla Tape, and I put a piece of Gorilla Tape and then another piece of Gorilla Tape and then fold it over underneath and extend my lip about 1 inch. And by doing that, nothing comes out the front. It all goes into here. So all the little fine leaves. Yes, this thing will pick up leaves, clippings, pine cones, sticks, everything. It really is a must-have for the fall, to be honest. I'll put a link to that sweeper. If it ever breaks, I'll just order another one because we use it all the time. But as you can see, it does a really good job of stirring up this grass, getting the blades up, picking up extra clippings and leaves and everything else. So, see what I mean? See what I mean about this tree? Look at all those leaves. All right, so I've kind of blown it off. I've raked it up with the leaf raker. I think the last thing I'm going to do is probably cut it again because that leaf sweeper actually got some of the tufts of a Bermuda up. So I just want to make sure that I'm definitely low enough. So I'm going to cut it one more time before I seed. For some reason, my gut's telling me that I should lower my reel mower like another 1/8 of an inch because I still have some real nappy areas in here. I don't want to go much lower, but at the same time, I want to make sure that this grass seed really comes in contact, and I don't want to have a bunch of thick Bermuda areas, even though the Bermuda stopped growing. So I'm going to drop this down a couple turns. All right, so I'm really glad I made that call to drop it down like another 16th or maybe 8th, just a little bit, because you can see the difference. Once I raked it up and blew it and now recutting it, you can definitely see the difference. See those two lines right there? So that's the difference on it. Much cleaner looking. I like that a lot. So I'm trying to get it without the sun glaring on it. That's where I am. This is kind of where I was. I still had a lot of this green tufty stuff here. So I think I'm glad I did that. I cut it once, and then I actually turned and cut the opposite direction on the grass. And doing that double cut really brought it down nice. So I also made a pass around the edge of the green. So let's see if you can get a overall look here. So the edge of the green is nice and clean. Still got to cut the green, but I'm not worried about that. But the fairway, man, it looks great. It's tight. It's 1/4 of an inch for sure. Now, here's my next dilemma. My next dilemma is putting the seed out. Normally I would use a rotary spreader to put out this seed, but I really kind of wanted to find these lines. And I know for a fact that Barb has an old drop spreader. And I may go sneak into her garage over there and get it. So I think I'm going to do that. So I went all the way over to Barb's. I raided her shed. I found her drop spreader. I grabbed my 50-pound bag of seed. So I've linked to this. I don't know how much more they have of this, but this is really for like sports fields because it's really fast green up, really fast germination. It's finer and it's lower growing than a normal, and it's an annual, not a perennial. That won't compete with my Bermuda in the spring. And then a little piece of history here. Ye old drop spreader. So I'm just going to throw some seed in and watch underneath it just to see, because I have no idea on the settings on this thing. It's just guess. This thing has weird little V slots, and so I got to keep it pretty wide open. Otherwise, this is larger seed and it won't come out of that bottom. So this rye has a little bit larger seed to it. All right, so in my last video, I talked about like 5 pounds per 1,000 square feet. You don't want to go out too heavy. And the other thing about this rye, this type of rye, is it germinates really fast. I mean, like 3, 4, or 5 days. So if you need more, you can put more. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back and I'm going to do another coat on this, make sure I got all my areas that I want. I'll probably do one circle around the green and just zigzag it, make sure I got good coverage. And then I'm going to come back with my leveling rake and just run my leveling rake over it to get it down on the ground. And then I'll put out some PGF complete. Okay. So I went over it twice, and I think that'll be good. Let me show you like the coverage right here. You can see it more so in the shade. See it? And all I have to do is just do this with a leveling rake, come by, and all that seed will fall down on the ground. So now I've raked this, and you can just see all the seeds just popping up, and I could tell that they were actually being pushed down into the turf zone. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go by with a hose, and I'm going to wet all the seed, and I'm going to blow it down into the grass. That's my next step. So. Because the way the sun's hitting this grass, when I'm looking back, I could see the seed on top. When I put the rake over it, I didn't see much at all. And now that I'm blowing it in with the hose, I see no seed up on top. It's all down on top of that soil. After I get done with this, then I'm going to go back and I'm going to put a little cover over it with some clippings just to keep it damp, because we do have some sunny weather here. These are the same grass clippings that I've been harvesting from this area. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use these, instead of putting a topsoil or peat or something, I'm just going to put a very light coat of these grass clippings on top. And then I'm going to wet them, and they'll sort of shade that grass. So I've saved my grass clippings, a little bit of them, not all of them. I've got the wheelbarrow, I've got one tub, and then I've got a pile back there, and I can put a nice layer of grass clippings all over this thing real quick. All right, so the last step, now that I've got the grass clippings on top, is just to water it down, and then the fun begins for the next 3 days. I basically have to come out here at least 3 times a day while the sun's out and just lightly mist this with water 3 times a day minimum. So that will probably be 10 a.m., 2 p.m., and maybe 4, something like that. All right, so one important note about watering, and I think the most important watering time of the day, the most important watering time of the day is right at sunset. So right when there's no sun, it's starting to get a little bit dark, temperatures are dropping, come out and water. And why is that? It's because the seed will stay wet the longest. So if you come out at 6:30, 7 o'clock, by the time 12 hours later, at 7 a.m., you're still going to have a lot of dew on the grass. It's not going to start to dry off till maybe 10 or 11. So you've got, 14, 15 hours where your seed is constantly wet. And that narrows down the window that you have to spray so much. So just a little tip. Doc's tired. So all this Fairway project has been done. I got that done. Been doing a whole bunch of other work for one of my businesses, and working the warehouse over there, and then came back and then had to cut the front. So I had to raise up that mower over about back and then come out and cut the front. Let me show it to you. Now, if you guys haven't put down, I just did a video talking about fall lawn products, and I'll link to them below. If you have not put down your PGF balanced, this is the time. As soon as, if your temperatures are in the 70s, depending on where you are in the country, once your temperatures hit the 70s, put down your PGF balanced on Bermuda. And Humichar. We're going to start putting down Humichar pretty much for the next several months. What we're going to do, I just did a video about loading up on carbon. And especially on this new property we got, that sandy soil, you want to load up on carbon for next year. So let me just show you the front, what it looks like. It looks pretty good. The front really looks nice. I'm cutting this at about 3/4 of an inch, and it'll stay this height for up until it goes dormant. That's where I'm going to leave it. But man, she looks really, really good. So again, PGF balanced, and Humichar. That's what you should be putting out right now once your temperatures are consistently in the 70s. We don't want to be dumping down a whole bunch of nitrogen here. We want to let our lawns sort of gently just rest before they go to sleep. Anyways, guys, long day. Click subscribe. I got a bunch more videos coming. So I'll talk to you later. Dot.